Hey YouTube, welcome to Cayem Interviews. I am your host, Tim Cayem, and today I'll be discussing the time I almost interviewed Linkin Park. So most people never get to meet their favorite bands, especially if they're as big as Linkin Park. And, they've been a huge inspiration of mine since I was a young kid. I'm sure most of you have some sort of relationship with either Meteora or Hybrid Theory, and that was one of the first bands that I ever got into that got me into like rock and roll, so to speak. And so this is the story about how I almost got to interview the band Linkin Park. So the exact date was May 20th, 2013. I was set to interview one of the first bands of my entire interview career or whatever. It was a band called Into the Flood, and they were playing the Whiskey A Go-Go on the Sunset Strip. Now, Into the Flood wasn't a huge or well-known band. They were, I think, opening for a bigger act at the Whiskey A Go-Go. And even the Whiskey A Go-Go at that is not like a massive venue, but it's very historic in LA. So I get to the venue and I'm waiting to interview the band, but the band has to load their gear into the venue and I'm just patiently waiting by on the Sunset Strip. As I'm waiting in the doorway corridor area, there's two gentlemen next to me and they're chit-chatting and they just kind of seem to have this confidence about them, but I figure they're probably the headlining band of the night, and most headlining bands have somewhat of an ego or confidence to them, especially being around, smaller acts like the band I was interviewing. I didn't really think anything of it. I just kind of stood there and kind of listened in on their conversation. They weren't talking about anything crazy. They thought I was a photographer shooting the show because I had a tripod and a camera on me. But I told them I was interviewing the band Into the Flood and that their vocalist was really talented. I knew that he did stuff on YouTube and he was a really talented vocalist. So then these two gentlemen asked me if I've ever heard of their band. They said, dude, you got to check out our band, man. We're playing the Sunset Strip Music Festival. Here's our flyer. So I want to show you guys the flyer. This is my little memorabilia box of a bunch of different passes and lanyards and all that crap. This is the flyer they gave me. It says Hybrid Theory on it with special guest 0, August 3rd, Sunset Strip Music Festival. Then it has sunsetstripmusicfestival.com, ssmf.com. So I'm like, Hybrid Theory, like the Linkin Park album? And then they look at each other and they're kind of like, oh, dude, I told you it was too explicit. Like, it's too easy. And they're kind of like arguing with each other, like, bro, we blew our cover. And I'm like, what's going on? And he's like, dude, we are Linkin Park. And I was like, what? No. And the weird part about all this is that I've seen Linkin Park live before, and I've been a huge fan of Linkin Park since I was a little kid. I'd seen them in like 2006 or something, so I had no idea what they looked like now. I just was kind of clueless. And it wasn't Mike Shinoda, and it wasn't Chester, so I was like super confused. It wasn't Mr. Hahn, and those were like the three people that I like knew had distinct looks to them. No. The people I was talking to was Brad Delson and Dave Farrell. I was blown away and I was kind of like still on the fence. I don't know, this is probably pretty insulting to them, but I said, dude, you guys aren't Linkin Park. I've seen Linkin Park before. And these guys were like, what do you mean? Dude, we're in the band. He's like, you know what? You're right. We're not in Linkin Park. And I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, I figured, dude. I figured you were kidding because I've seen Linkin Park before. You guys don't look familiar. I don't know if you're like trolling me or what. And they were kind of like, yeah, you're right, dude. We're not in Linkin Park. And I was like, oh, okay. Breath of fresh air. I did not want to be mistaking Linkin Park to not be Linkin Park. So then they let some time pass by and they're like, no, dude, we're screwing with you. We really are Linkin Park. And I was like, all right, screw this. I'm pulling my phone out. I'm Googling it right now. So I Google Linkin Park in front of Linkin Park. And they're over my shoulder going, that's him and that's me. And I'm like, shit. And I feel like such an idiot. And I was like, oh no, like this is my worst nightmare. Like one of my favorite bands thinking I'm a poser. So I give myself plenty of grace, I let them know that I have been a huge fan of their band for a while. And it's been a while since I've seen them live because they're a very expensive band to see. I let them know that I saw them at Project Revolution. And I think it was 2007 with Seosin was playing that festival, so I went, and of course I wanted to see Linkin Park. It was a really cool opportunity. They were super gracious about it, and then the second after I kind of have this bonding moment with them, I see Mike Shinoda, and he's talking to the band I was about to interview, and then immediately I'm like, holy shit, this is real. So then I talked to Mike Shinoda. He has a 100 shirt on, and the Hundreds is one of my favorite clothing companies. So I kind of like tell him, sick shirt, like love your band. This is so cool. Can I get a picture with you? And they take a picture with me, and that's right here. And they also take a picture with the band, so that was really cool. And it was just a cool experience for us. And I just felt so awesome for being able to meet one of my favorite bands and doing what I love to do, which was music journalism at the time. So I talked to Mike Shinoda, and I'm like, dude, please take my card. I'd love to interview you guys. And he took it graciously, but obviously he never called me. He's got plenty of other avenues for employees that work for Linkin Park that do that sort of work, press work. I didn't really know how the industry worked back then. I was an idiot, but it was really cool to just be able to give my card to Mike Shinoda and kind of meet him in that sense. And later on, when they played Warped Tour backstage, I was doing some work for Issues, and Mike Shinoda totally remembered me. I told him the story, and he was like, dude, I totally remember you. That's so crazy. Like, what a small world. And it was just a cool, feel-good story that like such a massive band felt so normal to me, and it was really, really cool for the music industry to feel that small and connected. Linkin Park will always have a huge place in my heart because they're such nice guys, and they write such great music, and they have such a huge impact on rock music as a whole. After I left the venue, I ended up coming across the real flyer for the Sunset Strip Music Festival, and that was this, Linkin Park, August 3rd, benefiting Music for Relief. And it says live at the Sunset Strip Music Festival. And so that was just so cool to kind of have like both of these flyers. And I just thought it was so awesome to just see the, a little bit of history of Linkin Park. I guess they were going undercover for a promotion for Sunset Strip Music Festival. So they were like surprising people on Sunset, and they were surprising people at like UCLA and stuff like that. So they made some video. I think it was for Jimmy Kimmel or something like that. But it was so funny that, I got to be videotaped acting like a complete idiot in front of one of my favorite bands. So yeah, shout out Linkin Park. Shout out for the cool little memorabilia that I'll have the rest of my life. This will probably be a little piece of history in the future. And I just absolutely love the band Linkin Park and how they do things. That's just a little story time, a little bit of feedback of my personal connection with Linkin Park. Do you have any stories about Linkin Park? Let me know in the comments below. What's the most random celebrity musician encounter you've ever had? I mean, tell me in the comments below. I think there's so many funny stories out there of kind of humanizing these like heroes for us. So I think it's super funny. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed that. Please subscribe, comment, connect with me on social media. All of that is in the description below. Peace out.